Welcome to the New Zealand Net Radio podcast. We hope you enjoy music shows and mixes. We have to edit the music on the podcast. To listen to the full show, visit our website at www.nznetradio.net.nz and click the replay service link in the menu, or download our app and use the shows tab. Now, on with the show.
New Zealand Net Radio.
Musical Musings. 5 of the best. Stereolab.
Yes, it's Musical Musings, the time when we get an interesting, erudite musical aficionado into the studio, virtually or in reality, to talk about a band or music of some kind, and we're doing 5 of the best. I'm going to get our guest to talk me through 5 of their tracks by one artist, and my guest this afternoon is a returning offender, Mr. Jarrett McCall. Jarrett, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's hot here in Tennessee, but doing well. Excited to talk about some Stereolab today.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, last time you brought me 26 letters worth of America, which was absolutely fantastic. This is a little bit different, zeroing in on Stereolab. What's your history with this band? When did they first come onto your awareness?
Okay, so it's all started back in early 1997. I was in the Navy at the time, and there's a lot of magazines. I subscribed to a few magazines, and they would always do like year-end best of albums. And so for 1996, they came out with their top 10 albums of the year, and I would see this one album by a band called Stereolab called Emperor Tomato Ketchup. So that on title. A few, and I did some research, and it's like some kind of experimental avant-garde movie from like the 60s or 70s. I haven't really watched it, but so they called it Emperor Tomato Ketchup. And so I don't know, in New Zealand, did they have BMG or Columbia House, like those companies where you could order certain number of CDs through the mail and they would deliver to you at like a cheap price?
Yes, we did have a company. I was trying to remember the other day because I saw that Columbia House are finishing up, actually. I think it was called Music Direct. And yes, I did have a subscription to them for a while.
Yeah, so I had BMG and Columbia House subscriptions. So on BMG, just after reading about how that album, Emperor Tomato Ketchup, showed up on so many top 10 lists, I bought the album without ever, hearing a song from it, just from the descriptions I read. And so I think it's wonderful that I just, bought it from those top 10 lists. So my initial listening to it after I got it, I was not really, they didn't immediately become my second favorite band of all time as they are now, but I like the retro 60s sound. It took me a few listenings to, for them to grow in my fondness. But my initial favorite song from that album was called Cybele's Reverie. But I would, over the course of the next several months in 1997, I would re-listen to that album, and just my admiration for them began to grow. And going back to the Navy, we did a 6-month cruise in the Mediterranean Sea and the Persian Gulf back in late 97, early 98.
Oh, wow. And
we had to spend about 4 months in the Persian Gulf. So during those 4 months, we would port in Dubai about 4 times during that deployment. At the time, Dubai was not as big a city as it is now. They had a mall there. So whenever I would have shore leave, I would go to that mall and would buy CDs and books from the music stores and bookstores. And in 1997, they came out with their album Dots and Loops.
Mm-hmm.
I bought it in I think it was early 98.
Yes.
And so that album, after just a few years of listening, re-listens to it, it became my favorite album of the entire 90s decade. So that's kind of when they cemented themselves as one of my top 5 favorite bands of all time. And then we'll move on to 1999, autumn of 1999. They came out with their next album and it's a long title. Some of their album titles are pretty long. If you've done some research on them.
Yeah.
But in 1991, they came out with Cobra and Phases Group Play Voltage in the Milky Night. And just for the rest of the show, I'll just call it Cobra and Phases.
Yeah, I think that's fair
So
enough.
this, yeah. So in my freshman year, this is my freshman year of college. I was pretty new to the internet, so I opened up an Amazon account, and one of the first purchases I made on Amazon was Cobra and Phases the week it came out.
Yes.
And because I was growing into such a huge fanatic of Stereolab, every night when I would go to sleep, I would put on the CD of Cobra and Phases and go to sleep to it.
Yes.
They are the band I have seen more times than any other band. I've seen them 4 times in concert.
Yes.
Lætitia Sadier, which is the lead singer of the group, she went on a solo tour back in 2024. I saw her on her solo tour, so I've seen Lætitia herself 5 times. I've seen the band 4 times. First time I saw them was in the summer of 2000, and at that show I was front and center. I was like within, hands distance to them.
Wow.
And this was, it's a highlight in my life. This was 2 years before bassist and their other singer, Mary Hansen, tragically passed away. So I consider myself fortunate enough to see them in the Mary Hansen days.
Yes.
And since I opened a Spotify account, every year they go back and forth between them and the Beatles being my most listened to artists of the year.
Yes.
So I listened to them and the Beatles so much, but 2025 is the year that streak was broken by a band which is my favorite contemporary band right now, Men I Trust.
Yes.
But for all those years before, it was always Beatles and Stereolab. And I'm proud to say that I have produced some Stereolab babies.
Yes.
My 2 sons, from all the years of them riding in the car with me, listening to Stereolab songs, they are now Stereolab fans.
Good.
And my younger son, who's currently in 8th grade, which in America, when you're 13 years old, you're in 8th grade.
Yeah.
So he's in 8th grade right now. And we bought a Stereolab shirt for him at the most recent concert we went to. So I'm proud to say that he wears his Stereolab shirt to middle school, 8th grade.
That's pretty cool. He'd stand
yeah.
out. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so I'm proud to have a 8th grader wearing Stereolab gear to school. I'm going to move on now to just a brief history of Stereolab. That was my my history of them, like from the first time I've listened to them until them becoming one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yes.
Their core members, since they started, they used to be a romantic couple. They had a son together, Tim Gane, the guitarist, and then mentioned earlier, Lætitia Sadier. She plays keyboards and she's the lead singer. They formed in London in 1990. Lætitia Sadier, if you hear the name, you could tell that she's a native of France.
Mm-hmm.
So that means some of their songs are in French, some are in English, because she lived a few years in England, and she grew up some in the U.S., so she's pretty fluent in English. So that's why their songs are bilingual.
Yes.
And we talked about her earlier, Mary Hansen. She was another core member of the group until she passed away in a tragic bicycle accident in London in 2002. And since you're pretty close to Australia, she was a native Australian. Her dad was Brendan Hansen, and he was a former member of the Australian Parliament. He represented Maryborough, Queensland.
Okay.
And I found that out on Wikipedia. She was another core or another key member of the band. And in my opinion, I think that their best songs, best albums came out during the period when Mary was part of the band, because in my opinion, she's the greatest backup singer of all time. She did sing lead a few times with them, but just her and Lætitia together, In my opinion, that was pure melodic heaven. No reason why they're probably my second favorite band of all time, behind the Beatles.
Yes.
And the 2010s, they took a pause during that the 2010s period. Lætitia released a few solo albums, and one thing that's that I'm fortunate enough to live here in Nashville is the last two tours that they've had. They've kicked off their shows here in Nashville. So the first time in 2022, I saw them kick off their tour in Nashville. And then last year, when they released their first album in 15 years called Instant Holograms on metal film,
Yes.
they also kicked that one off in Nashville. And I'll close with saying this. Last year, 2025, every year I make my top 10 list, my top 10 albums of the year and my top 10 songs of the year.
Mm-hmm.
In 2025, their album Instant Holograms on Metal Film, that was my album of the year, and the lead single from that album, Aerial Troubles, was my song of the year. And that had been the first time since 2023 when Dina Ogan released their album and songs for that year that my song of the year also came from my album of the year.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a good demonstration as to how close to your heart they are. Just before we move on to your first track, if somebody who's listening now has never heard Stereolab before, how would you describe their music and their sound?
Yeah. If you're a fan of, let's say, late 60s, early 70s, they called themselves jazz pop. They started out with their first few albums as like experimental, but you could hear like elements of that 60s, 70s jazz pop. So if you're just a fan of that era of music, which I've always been a big fan of, like the sunshine pop of the 60s and just the fusion jazz of the 70s, that's kind of what they embodied in their sound. They've always had like a retro sound, which is what has been a big draw for me with them.
Yes. Okay, so by 1994, they'd had 3 years of EPs and 2 albums behind them, which got them a deal with Elektra in the States. And it's at this time your first pick of your 5 tracks was released. What's your first pick, Jarrett?
Yes, so my first pick, it comes from their 1994 album. It was their third album called Mars Audiac Quintet. Before that, they had a hit song that was mainly big in Europe called French Disco, but this one is the one that kind of made them internationally known. A lot of people in the U.S. started getting into them because of this song. It has like an upbeat feel. I would say it's infectious. You can't resist it. The lyrics to it, I'll say that their music is always either upbeat or very beautiful. Their lyrics usually are kind of, I guess, depressing or just kind of complicated. This one has to deal with Marxist economics. One highlight was in 2008 when John McCain, who was the Republican candidate here in the U.S., was running against Barack Obama, the Democratic candidate. His daughter, Meghan McCain, had a daily campaign blog, and she would post like a song of the day. And one time she posted Ping Pong, which is the song we're about to hear, as her song of the day. She got some criticism because of like the leftist lyrical content when her dad was kind of like a right of center candidate. But
Yes.
I'll just say because of how good their music is, it kind of transcends the politics of it. And as I talked before about Mary Hansen, you're going to hear how great of a backing vocalist she was. And the organ is a prominent instrument in this song. I did some research and I was trying to see who exactly did the organ, but like a few members of the band did the organ. I'm guessing it might be Lætitia Sadier just from the times I've seen them in concert, but like the organ is a pretty prominent instrument in this song Ping Pong that we're about to hear.
Fantastic. Well, we'll listen out for that. And yes, do hear too the two-voice weave with Mary Hansen. It's absolutely beautiful. And you're absolutely right. It's interesting, the juxtaposition of those lyrics and the upbeat music. Okay, here's Ping Pong from 1994.
Every Sunday morning at 6. 2 hours of easy music. Tune in on New Zealand Net Radio.
Musical Musings. 5 of the best. Stereolab.
So that was 1994, and 2 years on, Stereolab do the thing that changes everything. They go to Chicago, and your next track dates from that time. Jarrett, what was happening here?
Yes, this is from their fourth album, which is the one I talked about earlier, Emperor Tomato Ketchup from 1996. That was the album that started it all for me with my Stereolab fandom. And I talked about earlier that Dots and Loops was my favorite album of the 1990s. Well, this one is my favorite song of the 1990s. So every song that was released between 1990 and 1999, this is my favorite one. And it's one of my top 10 songs of all time. A few weeks ago when I was talking about my top 10 albums so far of 2026, I talked about how I love songs that are melancholic and have a minor chord. So the minor chords, the melancholia is very prominent in this one. And I was doing my research, I saw that this song was about Lætitia Sadier's mother and her passing. So she had, I guess, passed away a few years before. And so this was like a song, I guess like an elegy to her mother. So that's why it has that melancholy, the minor chords in it. And as I listen to it, like there's certain songs where I have like a certain picture in my mind. When I listen to this one, I picture a cloudy winter late afternoon. It could fit into a movie from 1969 or 1970, set in either England or the northeastern U.S., maybe New England. What makes it so beautiful is the use of violin. I mean, I don't know if it's an actual violin, because this band, sometimes they'll use synthesizers that can mimic a instrument, but it has this violin sound in it that's so beautiful. And as it ends, just listen to the feedback. I think it was done with like some kind of fuzz pedal. I just loved how they ended it with that feedback sound. The song is called Monstre Sacre. It's a French word. Literally, it means sacred monster. And as I did my research, sacred monster is just a French idiom for a legend or an icon. So I guess it's just a tribute to Lætitia's mother, that I guess Lætitia's mother in her eyes was a legend or an icon.
Yes. Yeah, that's quite beautiful. So this album, this is off Emperor Tomato Ketchup, is on 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die, and it's often lauded as the big one. Does it deserve that, do you think? Or, I mean, I know Dots and Loops is your top album of the 90s.
Yeah, I think the period, I would call it the Mary Hansen period, 1993 to 2001. Any Stereolab album released in that period deserves to be in that list.
Yeah, pretty magic. Okay, well, here's Monstre Sacre from 1996 off their lauded album Emperor Tomato Ketchup.
Apple
Zealand Net Radio. Musical Musings. 5 of the best. Stereolab.
Delighted to have Jarrett McCall here again, and he's talking about his 5 favourite tracks from Stereolab, one of his top 2 bands of all time. On to track 3 now. What's going on here, Jarrett?
So we're going the next year after Emperor Tomato Ketchup. I talked about it earlier, being my favorite album of the 90s, Dots and Loops, their 5th album from 1997. This one I've noticed has recently become a viral hit. It's been getting a lot of streams on Spotify and other platforms. I noticed this a few years ago in an episode of the television series Atlanta. There's a character in it, the main character, he's in Amsterdam. He's a famous rapper, and he's got a show in Amsterdam, but before the show, his friend gives him some kind of psychedelic drug and gives him an iPod to listen to a few songs as he walks through downtown Amsterdam in winter. And so as he's walking through Amsterdam, this song's playing. And as I said earlier, I bought this CD at a mall in Dubai. And a few months later, before we came back home, we stopped in southern France in Cannes.
Oh, yes.
And when I had shore leave, we took a tour from Cannes to Monaco. So we had to go through Nice, France on the way to Monaco. And I think it was on the way back from Monaco, I had my Discman, which before there were iPods, you would listen to your portable CDs on a Discman.
Yes.
And so as I was sitting there on the bus, I was just like, it was an overcast day in Nice. It was early spring. I was looking at the people on the sidewalk, and there's a part about 3.5 minutes into the song that has this beautiful synth solo. And as soon as that synth solo came on, there's this old man who was crossing an intersection with a cane, and he was crossing it right when that synth solo came on. And so ever since I hear that song, when that solo comes on, that old man crossing the intersection in Nice, France with a cane always comes to mind. And the instrument, I thought it, when I was doing my research, I thought at first it was a harpsichord, but it's actually a clavinet. So the clavinet is very prominent in the song too. And the song is called The Flower Called Nowhere.
Yeah, it's a beautiful name, and it's so interesting. It's interesting. It's the clavinet. It's the it's an amazing instrument. I mean, I love classical music too, and I always like it when they use this. I saw this was some of it was recorded in Dusseldorf, which might account perhaps for some of that European feel, but that image just fits perfectly. It's incredible how music just embeds itself in memories, and memories embed themselves in music like that, isn't it? Sorry. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What you were saying. Yeah. It's just beautiful the way I guess they call it synchronicity, just the way synchronicity works sometimes in life.
Yes. So there was a single from this album called Miss Modular, which did all right. This particular album wasn't a single, but as you were mentioning, it sort of seems to have taken on a life of its own since then, both, I guess, from the use in that TV series, and perhaps that made it a bit more prominent, and then now, of course, TikTok, where these songs turn up. Let's have a listen then. This beautiful song, track 3, your selections, The Flower Called Nowhere.
Musical Musings. 5 of the best. Stereolab.
Right, we're on to track 4 of Jarrett's 5 favourite Stereolab tracks. And what have you chosen for us here, Jarrett?
Yeah, so this one is their first album from the aughts, which you can also call the 2000s. This was their 7th album called Sound Dust.
Mm-hmm.
It was the last album that featured Mary Hansen because she would pass away a year later. This song, it has that mellow late 60s, early 70s vibe that I'm immediately drawn to. And again, on this one, I said to listen for the backing vocals of Mary Hansen to just see how she is the greatest, in my opinion, backup singer of all time. Another thing about this song that I find so beautiful is the horn section. Just listen to the horns in this one. And I talked about earlier with Monstre Sacre, that's my favorite song of the 90s. Well, guess what my favorite song of the aughts is? It's this one that we're about to hear called Not More Terrific Than Man, which I consider a perfect song. I think it has no blemishes, no flaws. It's just perfect.
Yeah, so this one was written by Tim Gane and Lætitia Sadier, I saw. And very touching that it's on Mary Hansen's last album. So the album before this, Cobra and Phases, I think you referred to it before, it was regarded as a bit of a sort of difficult album or a sprawling one. How did you find that one?
Yeah, a lot of critics, I guess they gave it it got some of a backlash from the critics. But for me, since I love Stereolab so much, I think it's like one of their best albums. I do love a lot of the songs on that one. It's just none of the songs from that album made my top 5, but in my opinion, it's one of their best albums.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Certainly this one, Sound Dust from 2001, was more warmly received again, and it's, yeah, quite beautiful, produced in Chicago, actually. Okay, here's Naught More Terrific Than Man. Listen to the beautiful vocals on here.
Music variety on New Zealand Net Radio.
Musical Musings. 5 of the best. Stereolab.
And then on the 9th of December 2002, Mary Hansen was hit by a truck while riding her bicycle in London, 36 years old, just terrible. And this track comes after that. Do you want to talk a little bit about this one, Jarrett?
Yeah, so this was their first album after the passing of Mary Hansen. I said earlier that their albums between 1993 to 2001, when Mary Hansen was with them, are their best albums. This next album, which was their 8th album from 2004, Marge and Eclipse, I like it a lot, but it's not like one of my Stereolab albums, and that's partly due to the loss of Mary Hansen. But the song that closes out, I am a very big fan of, and this one, it's divided into 3 parts. I was trying to analyze the lyrics for this one. I guess you can find your own meaning from it because they're pretty cryptic and philosophical. So it's kind of like just, I don't know, find your own meaning in that one. But for the first part of the song is about 2.5 minutes. It has an upbeat rhythm. And then it goes into the second part, which is about 1.5 minutes. Doesn't have any lyrics, just has some like wordless harmonies. But the thing that makes this song one of my favorites is part 3, which lasts about 2.5 minutes. And this is when the song becomes a banger. Banger meaning you want to go out on the dance floor and just shake your groove thing. So back in 2004 when they were promoting this album. I went to see them in concert. This was my second time seeing them.
Mm-hmm.
And when this part of the song came on, just like they made it louder. They kind of made it an extended jam, and just about everybody in the crowd just started getting down, shaking their groove things. So this is why I'm such a big fan of this song, is because of part 3. And like I said before, when I listened to Monstre Sacre, I pictured like a movie, like a 1969, 1970 movie. Well, for this one, when part 3 comes on, it has like this 70s sound. So I like picture a chase scene in a 70s movie, and it can either be a foot chase or a car chase. But as you listen to the third part of the song, just picture your own kind of chase scene in a 70s movie as you listen to this one.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's really cool imagery. And of course, there was, that tribute to her, to Mary running through this album, Margarine Rock,
Mm-hmm.
Margarine Melody, and then this one, Dear Marge. Something else I saw mentioned was how this, interestingly, has got a dual mono mix. So there's 2 arrangements almost of each song assigned to each channel, and whether there's some meaning about that with the dual vocals and her not being there to provide those backing vocals anymore is quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really beautiful album, and it's quite cool that it's a tribute, but that it's also upbeat at the end, and I think that's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to let this one play out at the end, so let's do our wrap up now. And we've had 5 fantastic songs: Ping Pong, Monstre Sacre, The Flower Called Nowhere, Naught More Terrific Than Man, and then Dear Marge coming in a second. 10 years, 5 albums, and a band rebuilding itself over time. It's very well chosen, Jarrett. Where would you recommend someone to go next if they were listening today and they thought, I quite like Sound Lab, I'd like to investigate them a bit more?
Yeah, I'd say start out with the Mary Hansen period. You could always start out with my favorite album of theirs, Dots and Loops. Go on from there to Emperor Tomato Ketchup, and then do Cobra and Phases. Mars Audate Quintet, I do like a lot of that album. I just don't think it's as good as their other ones. But yeah, Mars Audate Quintet, you can find a lot of gems in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And also their second album, which was the first one with Mary. And it's another one of those with long titles, and I don't have it here, but it has like random noises as part of the title, but you'll just look for their 1993 album. It has the word random in it. That's another good album.
Yes, okay. And so I quite enjoyed that album from last year, Instant Holograms on Metal Film. How do you feel that ranks? Do you think they've got their groove back again?
Yeah, I think they're back to their mid to late 90s output. I think it was a masterpiece. That's why it was my favorite album of 2025. And they found on the one I said was my favorite song of last year, Aerial Troubles. They found some kind of a backup singer that can mimic Mary's voice, or I don't know if maybe they used AI for Mary, but yeah, you hear some of Mary Hansen in the backing vocals of Aerial Troubles.
That's really interesting. Yeah, it'd be fascinating to look into the how that was done. But that's neat anyway that they've managed to recreate that. And were there any songs that you were really humming and hawing about putting in here that sort of just missed the cut?
Yeah, so I was trying to just do one album or one song from each album. There's a few that you should also look into from Sound Dust. Another really great one is called Captain Easy Chord.
Mm-hmm.
And then another good one from Dots and Loops, which is actually my favorite one from there, but it's like an 18-minute song, and I didn't want to, give up a lot of your time. But it's called trying to think of Refractions in the Plastic Pulse, which is an 18-minute song. That's my favorite from Dots and Loops. It was too long to put on here.
Yes.
And then, that's pretty much like the other good ones. You should look search by them.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, well, we'll check those out. And that 18-minute one sounds like a great track to sit back and just listen to quietly. Well, thanks, Jarrett. It's been a real pleasure having you again. I really appreciate you giving time for Five of the
thanks
Best
for having
today.
me back.
Yeah, no problem. And we look forward to seeing you again to look into another band. So take care of yourself, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Okay, no worries.